The only thing I trust less than Sarah's phone passcode is her smile when she says, "It's just work." But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start with the moment my marriage officially died. Not with a bang, not with tears, but with a text message that arrived at exactly 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday while I was debugging code in my home office. I want a divorce. All communication goes through my lawyer. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. That was it. 15 years of marriage reduced to 37 characters and a period. No explanation, no conversation, no chance to fight for what we'd built together. Just Sarah's typical corporate efficiency applied to the destruction of our life. I'm Jack Morrison, 38 years old, software architect for a Seattle tech company, and apparently now a soon-to-be divorced man. I work remotely from my smart home in Bellevue, surrounded by all the gadgets and automation that Sarah used to mock. "You've turned our house into a spaceship, Jack," she'd say, rolling her eyes at the voice-controlled lights and security cameras. Funny how those cameras were about to become very useful. Sarah was my wife of 15 years, marketing executive at Pinnacle Solutions, ambitious as hell, and increasingly secretive over the past 6 months. She's 36, drives a BMW, and has recently developed a suspicious attachment to her phone that would make a teenager jealous. Late nights at the office became the norm. Girls' trips multiplied. The warmth in our bedroom got replaced by a coldness that no amount of smart home climate control could fix. But the real red flags started 3 weeks ago. I found a lipstick-stained wine glass in her car, stemless, expensive, not the kind we keep at home. Then there was the unfamiliar cologne scent in our bedroom, subtle, but definitely not mine. When I mentioned it, Sarah laughed it off. "You're being paranoid, Jack. Maybe it's from the dry cleaner." The dry cleaner. Right. The final straw came last Friday when I overheard her whispering to Maya, her best friend and professional gossip distributor, in our kitchen. I was coming downstairs for coffee when I heard Maya's voice, sharp with concern. "If Jack finds out, you'll lose everything." Sarah's response was muffled, but Maya's follow-up wasn't. "Eliot better be worth it because this is going to get ugly." Eliot, Sarah's VP at Pinnacle Solutions, 40 years old, drives a Porsche 911, spends more on gym memberships than most people spend on rent, and apparently has been spending quality time with my wife. So when that divorce text arrived, I didn't respond with hurt or anger or desperate pleas for reconciliation. I responded like the methodical software architect I am. I opened my laptop and got to work. First, I canceled every joint credit card we owned, all 6 of them. Then I called our bank and froze our joint accounts, citing suspected fraudulent activity. Technically true, since adultery feels pretty fraudulent to me. Next, I blocked Sarah's access to our travel rewards accounts. No more spontaneous trips to wine country with Eliot. My phone started ringing within an hour. "Jack, what the hell did you do?" Sarah's voice was shrill, panicked. "I'm stuck at the spa and my card got declined. I can't even call an Uber." "Oh, that's unfortunate," I said, keeping my voice level. "Maybe you should call your lawyer. I believe all communication is supposed to go through them now." "Don't be ridiculous. I hung up and blocked her number. The next call came from someone identifying himself as David Brennan, Sarah's attorney. His voice had that practiced smoothness that lawyers cultivate, but I could hear irritation underneath. "Mr. Morrison, I understand you've taken some rather drastic financial actions today. I need to inform you that this kind of behavior could be seen as financial abuse, and—" "Mr. Brennan," I interrupted, "I'm protecting our marital assets from potential misuse. I'm sure you understand. Have a great day." I hung up on him too. By evening, my phone was buzzing with texts from unknown numbers, probably Sarah using friends' phones to reach me. I ignored them all, and instead spent the evening reviewing our security camera footage from the past month. Our smart home system keeps everything archived in the cloud, and what I found was illuminating. Sarah leaving the house at odd hours. Sarah returning with shopping bags from stores she'd never mentioned. Sarah talking on the phone in the garage, pacing like a caged animal, her body language screaming guilt. But the most interesting footage was from 2 weeks ago. Sarah and Maya in our living room, heads close together, looking at something on Sarah's phone. Maya's expression was shocked, then excited, then calculating. They talked for 20 minutes, and while I couldn't hear the audio, their body language told a story of conspiracy. I made copies of everything. My phone rang again. This time it was Nate Rodriguez, my best friend since college, and the only ex-cop I trust completely. He works private security now, mostly corporate stuff, but he still has that cop instinct for reading people and situations. Jack, man. Sarah just called me. She's freaking out about the credit cards. What's going on? She wants a divorce, Nate. Sent me a text today like she was canceling a subscription service. There was a pause. Jesus, I'm sorry, buddy. But freezing her cards? That's pretty hardcore. She's been cheating with her boss. Has been for months. I'm done being the understanding husband. Another pause. Longer this time. You sure about the cheating? Sure enough. And I think she's been planning this divorce for a while, probably moving assets around with her boyfriend's help. I'm not going to sit here and get played. All right, Nate said, and I could hear his voice shift into professional mode. What do you need? Meet me for drinks tomorrow. I'll show you what I found. And Nate, bring your camera. I think we're going to need documentation. After I hung up, I sat in my home office, surrounded by the soft glow of multiple monitors, and felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Clarity. For too long, I'd been reacting to Sarah's coldness, trying to fix whatever was wrong, blaming myself for the distance between us. But now I understood. There was nothing to fix. There was only the truth to uncover and justice to serve. My phone buzzed with another text from an unknown number. Jack, please call me. We need to talk. This is crazy. I deleted it without responding. Instead, I opened a new document on my computer and started typing. If Sarah wanted to play this like a business transaction, complete with lawyers and strategic communications, then I'd treat it like the project it was. I'd document everything, plan every move, and execute with the same precision I brought to complex software architectures. The document's title was simple: Project Payback. Sarah thought she was dealing with the same passive, understanding Jack who'd spent months making excuses for her behavior, who'd convinced himself that her coldness was just work stress, who'd believed her lies about late meetings and girls' nights out. She was about to discover she'd been very wrong about that. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Sarah had apparently spent the night in full panic mode, reaching out through every mutual friend and family member she could think of. My mother had even gotten involved. Jack, honey, Sarah called me crying at midnight. She says you've lost your mind and frozen all your money. What's going on? My mother, Dorothy Morrison, is 72 years old and has never met a piece of gossip she couldn't weaponize. She lives in a retirement community in Tacoma and maintains a social network that would make the CIA jealous. Mom, Sarah is having an affair and wants a divorce. She sent me a text yesterday telling me all communication has to go through her lawyer, so I'm protecting our assets. An affair? Sarah, are you sure? I'm sure. There was a pause while Mom processed this information. I could practically hear her mental Rolodex spinning. Well, she said finally, I never did like how she looked at other men at your cousin's wedding last year, and she always was too ambitious for her own good. You should have married a librarian, Jack. Librarians are loyal. Thanks for the relationship advice, Mom. I'll keep that in mind for next time. Don't be sarcastic with me, young man. I'm on your side here. What do you need me to do? That's my mother, 72 years old and ready to go to war. Just don't believe anything Sarah tells you, and if she asks you to pass along messages, don't. Oh, honey, I'm way ahead of you. I already told her I was disappointed in her choices and hung up. She called back twice, but I didn't answer. After ending the call with Mom, I drove to my lawyer's office. Patricia Chen had handled our house purchase and will preparation, and she had the kind of sharp, no-nonsense attitude I needed right now. Jack, I have to ask, are you sure about this approach? Freezing assets can backfire in divorce proceedings if it looks like you're being vindictive rather than protective. Patricia, my wife has been planning this divorce while having an affair with her boss. I have security camera footage of her conspiring with her friends, probably about how to maximize what she can take from me. I'm not being vindictive, I'm being strategic. Patricia leaned back in her chair, studying me. Show me what you have. I opened my laptop and pulled up the security footage, the photos of Sarah and Eliot I'd taken during my surveillance, and the financial records showing unusual spending patterns over the past few months. This is good documentation, Patricia said after reviewing everything, and you're right to be concerned about asset protection, but we need to be smart about this. I'll file for divorce on grounds of adultery, and we'll seek a favorable asset division based on her misconduct. In the meantime, keep documenting everything, but don't do anything that could be construed as harassment or stalking. What about the credit cards and bank accounts? That was actually smart, legally speaking. You have every right to protect marital assets from potential misuse. Just make sure you can justify every action. After leaving Patricia's office, I met Nate at O'Malley's, a dive bar downtown that serves decent burgers and minds its own business. Nate was already there, nursing a beer, and looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. You look like hell, I told him as I sat down. Rough night. Sarah called me 4 more times after we talked. Then Maya called. Then some guy who said he was Sarah's lawyer threatened me with obstruction of justice if I was helping you hide assets. What did you tell them? I told them all to go to hell, but politely. Nate took a long drink of his beer. Jack, I've known Sarah almost as long as you have. This whole thing is crazy. Are you absolutely sure she's cheating? Instead of answering, I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd taken over the past week. Sarah and Eliot entering a boutique hotel. Sarah and Eliot having an intimate lunch at a restaurant across town. Sarah and Eliot in his Porsche, her hand on his thigh as they sat in traffic. Shit, Nate said quietly. That's definitely not a business meeting. There's more. I showed him the security footage from our house, the unusual financial activity, the pattern of lies that had become Sarah's normal behavior. Nate studied everything with his cop's eye for detail. This is solid evidence, Jack. But what's your endgame here? You've got enough for a good divorce settlement. Why not just let the lawyers handle it? Because she thought she could play me. She thought she could have her affair, plan her exit strategy, and leave me holding the bag while she rode off into the sunset with her rich boyfriend. She underestimated me. So what are you planning? I took a drink of my beer and looked around the bar. It was mostly empty, just a few regulars watching sports on the TV screens and minding their own business. I'm planning to make sure everyone knows exactly who Sarah really is. Her friends, her co-workers, her family. I'm going to strip away all the lies and show them the truth. That sounds like revenge, not justice. Sometimes they're the same thing. Nate was quiet for a long moment. What do you need from me? Help with surveillance, documentation, and maybe some of that creative problem-solving you used to be famous for in the department. I'm not going to help you do anything illegal. I'm not asking you to. Everything I'm planning is perfectly legal, just morally questionable. Nate laughed despite himself. You know what? Sarah always did think she was smarter than everyone else. Maybe it's time someone taught her otherwise. We spent the next hour planning. Nate would help me with surveillance and documentation. He had contacts who could run background checks and financial searches, and he knew how to gather evidence that would hold up in court if necessary. As we were getting ready to leave, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Jack, this is Maya. Sarah is a mess. She's staying at my place tonight. Can we please talk like adults about this? I showed the text to Nate. Maya's been helping Sarah plan this whole thing. I heard them talking about it. So what do you want to do? I thought about it for a moment, then typed back, Maya, I'm happy to talk, but all communication about the divorce goes through lawyers now. That was Sarah's rule, not mine. Maya's response came quickly. This is ridiculous. She made a mistake, but you're destroying her life. She destroyed her own life, I typed back. I'm just making sure everyone can see the wreckage clearly. I didn't wait for a response. Instead, I blocked that number too. As Nate and I walked to our cars, he asked, You sure you want to go down this road? Once you start this kind of war, it's hard to stop. She started it when she decided to betray our marriage and try to screw me over financially. I'm just going to finish it. All right then. When do we start? Tomorrow. I want to know everything about Eliot's life, his marriage, his finances, his weaknesses. And I want to know exactly what Sarah has been telling people about our marriage and this divorce. Consider it done. That night, I sat in my home office and continued building my case file. Every photo, every piece of security footage, every financial record that showed Sarah's deception. I was methodical about it, organizing everything chronologically and by category. But as I worked, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. Sarah hadn't just been having an affair. She'd been systematically preparing for this divorce for months, moving money into accounts I didn't know about, consulting with lawyers, even meeting with a financial planner about how to maximize her settlement. The evidence was all there in our shared cloud storage, which she'd apparently forgotten I had access to. Email confirmations for secret bank accounts, calendar appointments with divorce attorneys going back 3 months, even a spreadsheet calculating different scenarios for asset division. Sarah hadn't just betrayed our marriage, she'd turned ending it into a business plan. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Mr. Morrison? This is David Brennan, Sarah's attorney. I think we got off on the wrong foot yesterday. Mr. Brennan, I thought all communication was supposed to go through my attorney now. Well, yes, but I was hoping we could handle this more amicably. Sarah is very upset about the financial restrictions you've put in place. Sarah is upset? That's interesting. She seemed pretty calm and collected when she sent me that divorce text. Mr. Morrison, I understand you're hurt, but Mr. Brennan, let me save us both some time. I know about the affair. I know about the secret bank accounts. I know about the months of planning that went into this divorce. So let's skip the part where you pretend Sarah is the victim here. There was a long pause. I think it would be best if we continued this conversation through your attorney. I think that would be best too. After I hung up, I felt a grim satisfaction. They were starting to realize that I wasn't going to be the easy mark they'd planned for. But I was just getting started. The next morning, I put the first phase of my plan into action. I'd spent most of the night going through Sarah's digital footprint, and what I'd found was better than I'd hoped for. Sarah had been sloppy with her operational security, leaving a trail of evidence that painted a very clear picture of her affair and her divorce planning. The best discovery was a folder in our shared cloud storage labeled Personal Projects, Sarah's euphemism for her secret life. Inside were photos that would make a porn star blush, text message screenshots that read like bad romance novel dialogue, and most damning of all, a document titled Exit Strategy that laid out her plan to maximize her divorce settlement while minimizing any consequences for her affair. But the real goldmine was a series of emails between Sarah and Eliot discussing not just their relationship, but their strategy for handling the fallout. Eliot was apparently planning to leave his wife too, and they'd been coordinating their divorces to minimize financial damage and public embarrassment. They'd underestimated the public embarrassment part. I started with Eliot's wife, Jennifer. According to my research, she was a pediatric nurse at Seattle Children's Hospital, well respected in her community, and completely unaware that her husband was planning to trade her in for a newer model. She deserved to know the truth. I created an anonymous email account and sent Jennifer a carefully crafted message with selected evidence. Photos of Eliot and Sarah together, screenshots of their romantic text exchanges, and most importantly, excerpts from their emails discussing their divorce strategies. "Mrs. Patterson," I wrote, "I thought you should know what your husband has been doing behind your back. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you deserve to know the truth about the man you married." I sent the email at 8 a.m., right when Jennifer would be checking her messages before work. Next, I called Pinnacle Solutions' HR department. I'd done my research and knew that Linda Walsh, the HR director, took a very dim view of workplace relationships, especially ones involving supervisors and their subordinates. More importantly, Linda was a notorious gossip who couldn't keep a secret if her life depended on it. "Hi, Linda. This is Jack Morrison, Sarah Morrison's husband. I need to report a workplace relationship that's creating a hostile work environment." "Oh, hi, Jack. What kind of relationship?" "My wife Sarah has been having an affair with her supervisor, Eliot Patterson. It's been going on for months, and I have documentation if you need it." There was a pause. Linda was probably torn between her professional obligations and her love of juicy gossip. The gossip won. "That's very serious, Jack. Can you send me what you have?" "I'll email it right over." I sent Linda a professional package, the hotel photos, the restaurant surveillance shots, and carefully selected excerpts from Sarah and Eliot's email exchanges that showed the relationship was clearly affecting workplace dynamics. By 10 a.m., my phone was ringing. "Jack, what the hell did you do?" It was Sarah, calling from yet another unknown number. Her voice was shaking with rage. "I reported a workplace ethics violation. It seemed like the responsible thing to do." "You sent those photos to HR. They called me into a meeting and suspended me pending investigation." "That sounds like a consequence of your actions, not mine." "And Jennifer showed up at my office screaming at me in front of everyone. Security had to escort her out." I imagine she was upset about learning her husband was cheating on her. That's understandable. "You're destroying my life." "No, Sarah. You destroyed your own life. I'm just making sure everyone can see the wreckage clearly." She hung up, but not before I heard her sobbing. I felt a moment of guilt, then remembered the exit strategy document and the months of lies. The guilt passed. My next call was from Nate. "Jesus, Jack, you work fast. I just got a call from a contact at Pinnacle Solutions. Apparently, there was a scene in their lobby this morning involving a very angry wife and a security escort." Jennifer Patterson deserved to know the truth about her husband. And Sarah got suspended. Pending investigation. Turns out companies don't like it when supervisors have affairs with their subordinates. Something about liability and workplace harassment. What's next? "Meet me at Eliot's gym at lunch. I want to have a conversation with him." "Jack, that sounds like a bad idea." "Trust me, it'll be fine." Eliot worked out every day at an upscale gym in downtown Seattle, one of those places where membership costs more than most people's rent, and the equipment looks like it belongs in a spaceship. I'd been tracking his routine for a week, and he was predictable as clockwork. Cardio at 12:15, weights at 12:45, protein shake at the juice bar at 1:30. I arrived at 12:30 and found him on the leg press machine, sweating through an expensive workout outfit and looking like he hadn't slept much. Word travels fast in Seattle's professional circles, and I was betting he'd already heard about the morning's events. I walked up and stood directly in his line of sight. It took him a moment to recognize me, but when he did, his face went pale. "Jack, what are you doing here?" "Working out. It's a free country, Eliot. Or should I say it's an expensive gym that I can afford because I'm not paying for a messy divorce yet." He finished his set and sat up, grabbing a towel. "Look, Jack, I know you're upset, but—" "Upset? Why would I be upset? My wife has been screwing her boss for months while planning to take me for everything I'm worth in a divorce. That's just Tuesday for me." Several other gym members were starting to pay attention to our conversation. Eliot noticed and lowered his voice. "Can we talk somewhere private?" I'm comfortable right here. How's Jennifer handling the news about your affair? Eliot's face flushed red. You had no right to involve my wife. I had every right to involve your wife. She's married to you just like I was married to Sarah. We both deserve to know the truth. This is harassment. No, this is a conversation. Harassment would be if I followed you around, or if I damaged your property, or if I made your life difficult in some systematic way. I paused and smiled. But I would never do anything like that. Eliot stood up and started walking toward the locker room. I followed at a casual distance, still talking. How's work going, by the way? I heard there might be some HR issues to deal with. That's got to be stressful. He spun around. Stay away from me, Jack, and stay away from my family. Your family? You mean the family you were planning to leave for my wife? That family? By now, we had an audience. The gym's upscale clientele was getting a free show with their workout, and several people were openly staring. Eliot realized this and hurried into the locker room. I didn't follow him inside, but I did wait in the parking lot. When he came out 20 minutes later, I was leaning against his Porsche 911, admiring the paint job. Beautiful car, I said as he approached. Must be nice to afford toys like this on a VP's salary. Get away from my car. It's a public parking lot, Eliot. I'm just admiring the craftsmanship. I walked around the car slowly, noting the custom wheels, the upgraded exhaust, the vanity plates that read Eliot 1. You know, I've always wondered about guys who buy cars like this. What are you compensating for? Eliot's face was turning red again. You're pathetic, Jack. Sarah told me all about you. How boring you are, how you never want to go anywhere or do anything exciting. She said living with you was like being married to a computer. And yet she stayed married to me for 15 years, while only screwing you for 6 months. What does that say about your performance? That hit home. Eliot stepped closer, his hands clenched into fists. You want to take a swing at me, Eliot? Go ahead. But remember, there are security cameras all over this parking lot, and I've got a witness in that car over there. I nodded toward Nate, who was sitting in his pickup truck with a clear view of our conversation. Eliot looked around and realized he was trapped. Anything he did would be recorded and could be used against him in his own divorce proceedings. This isn't over, he said. You're right. It's not. I walked away, leaving him standing next to his precious Porsche, but I didn't go far. From across the parking lot, I watched as he got in his car and started the engine. That's when he discovered that all 4 of his tires were flat. I hadn't punctured them. That would have been vandalism. I'd simply removed the valve caps and pressed the valve stems until all the air leaked out. Perfectly legal, if annoying. Eliot's scream of rage could probably be heard 3 blocks away. As I drove home, I felt better than I had in months. For too long, I'd been the victim in this situation, reacting to Sarah's coldness and lies, trying to fix a marriage that she'd already decided to end. But now I was taking control, forcing them to react to me. My phone rang. It was Maya. Jack, you need to stop this. Sarah is falling apart. She's been crying for hours. Maya, you helped her plan this divorce. You were part of the conspiracy to screw me over, so forgive me if I don't care about Sarah's emotional state. I was just being a good friend. No, you were being an accessory to betrayal. There's a difference. She loves you, Jack. This whole thing with Eliot was just a mistake. A mistake? Maya, I have emails going back 3 months where they planned their divorces together. I have photos of them in hotel rooms. I have text messages that would make a sailor blush. That's not a mistake. That's a deliberate choice. There was a long pause. What do you want? I want everyone to know the truth about who Sarah really is. I want consequences for her actions. And I want her to understand that I'm not the pushover she thought I was. And then what? You'll forgive her? Maya, there is no and then what. This marriage is over. Sarah made sure of that when she sent me that text. Now I'm just making sure the ending is fair. After I hung up, I spent the evening reviewing the day's work. Sarah was suspended from her job pending an HR investigation. Eliot was dealing with his own marital crisis and would probably be facing disciplinary action at work as well. Their carefully planned exit strategy was falling apart. But I wasn't done yet. In fact, I was just getting started. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Jack, this is Jennifer Patterson. Thank you for telling me the truth about my husband. I think we should talk." I smiled and typed back, "I'd be happy to talk, Jennifer. I think we have a lot in common." Jennifer Patterson and I met the next morning at a coffee shop in Fremont, far enough from both our neighborhoods to avoid running into anyone we knew. She was smaller than I'd expected, maybe 5'4", with short blonde hair and the kind of tired eyes that come from working night shifts at a children's hospital. But there was steel in her voice when she spoke. "I want to destroy him," she said, without preamble as she sat down across from me. "I want to take everything he has and leave him with nothing." "That's a healthy attitude," I replied. "How long have you been married?" 12 years. We have 2 kids, 8 and 10. I've been supporting his career, his gym memberships, his expensive car collection, his whole lifestyle, while he's been screwing your wife and planning to leave me for her." Jennifer pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of text messages she'd found on Eliot's computer after confronting him the night before. "He didn't even try to deny it," she said, "just told me he'd been unhappy for years and that Sarah understood him in ways I never could. Then he had the nerve to ask if we could handle this maturely for the sake of the kids." The text messages were worse than anything I'd found in Sarah's cloud storage. Eliot and Sarah discussing their future together, making fun of their respective spouses, even planning a vacation to celebrate once their divorces were final. "There's more," Jennifer said. "I found bank statements showing he's been spending thousands on hotels, restaurants, gifts for her, money that should have been going to our kids' college funds. Jennifer, I think we can help each other. I have evidence you can use in your divorce, and you probably have access to things that would be useful in mine." "What kind of things?" "Financial records, communications, anything that shows they were planning this together. The more we can prove they were conspiring to defraud both of us, the better our cases become." We spent the next hour sharing information and coordinating our strategies. Jennifer had access to Eliot's financial records and could document his spending on the affair. I had surveillance photos and communications that proved the relationship had been going on for months. Together, we had enough evidence to destroy both of them in court. But Jennifer wanted more than just a favorable divorce settlement. She wanted public humiliation. "Eliot cares about his reputation more than anything," she said. "His job, his social status, his image as a successful businessman. I want everyone to know what kind of man he really is." "I can help with that," I said. "But we need to be smart about it. Everything we do has to be legal and defensible." "What do you have in mind?" I told her about my plan for the Pinnacle Solutions Company party, scheduled for Friday night at a downtown hotel. It was one of those corporate networking events that Sarah had always loved, an opportunity to schmooze with clients and show off her professional success. "They'll both be there," I said, "and so will everyone they work with, all their professional contacts, their friends. It's the perfect venue for a public confrontation." "What kind of confrontation?" "The kind where everyone learns the truth about their affair and their divorce conspiracy. The kind that gets recorded on cell phones and shared on social media. The kind that follows them for the rest of their careers." Jennifer smiled for the first time since I'd met her. "I like the way you think." That afternoon, I got a call from Patricia, my lawyer. "Jack, I just got off the phone with Sarah's attorney. They want to meet to discuss a settlement." "What kind of settlement?" "They're offering you 60% of the marital assets in exchange for a quick, no-fault divorce. No public proceedings, no airing of dirty laundry, just a clean break." "That's generous. What's the catch?" "No catch, really. I think they're trying to avoid the publicity of a contested divorce based on adultery. 60% is actually better than you'd probably get in court." I thought about it for a moment. 60% of our assets would set me up comfortably for the rest of my life. I could take the money, walk away, and start over somewhere else. But that would mean Sarah and Eliot got away with their betrayal. It would mean they could spin the story however they wanted, probably painting me as the unreasonable husband who couldn't forgive a simple mistake. "Turn it down," I said. "Jack, this is a good offer. You should seriously consider—" "Turn it down, Patricia. I'm not interested in making this easy for them." "What do you want me to tell them?" "Tell them I'll see them in court. And tell them that if they want to avoid public embarrassment, they shouldn't have planned their affair so carelessly." Friday night arrived with typical Seattle drizzle, the kind of weather that makes everyone want to stay inside with a good book and a glass of wine. But I had other plans. The Pinnacle Solutions party was being held at the Grand Hyatt, in one of those generic hotel ballrooms that companies rent when they want to impress clients but don't want to spend real money. I arrived at 8 o'clock, dressed in my best suit and carrying a small gift bag. Sarah was already there, holding court near the bar with a group of colleagues. She looked stunning in a black cocktail dress that I'd never seen before, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. For a moment, I remembered why I'd fallen in love with her 15 years ago. Then I remembered the exit strategy document and the months of lies, and the moment passed. Eliot was across the room, talking to a group of clients and looking like he didn't have a care in the world. He'd apparently recovered from yesterday's tire incident and was back to his usual confident self. I walked up to the bar and ordered a whiskey, positioning myself where I could observe both of them. The party was in full swing, with maybe 100 people networking, drinking, and pretending to enjoy themselves. At 8:30, I made my move. I walked up to Sarah's group, smiled politely, and said, "Excuse me, I hate to interrupt, but I have something for Sarah." The conversation stopped. Sarah's face went white when she saw me. "Jack, what are you doing here?" "I brought you a gift," I said, holding up the small bag. "I thought you might want to share it with your colleagues." "I don't want anything from you." "Oh, but I think you will. It's a photo album, pictures from your recent business trips." I reached into the bag and pulled out a stack of 8 out 10 photographs, all professionally printed and clearly labeled with dates and locations. The top photo showed Sarah and Eliot entering the boutique hotel where they'd been meeting. Sarah lunged for the photos, but I held them out of reach. Now, Sarah, don't be rude. Your colleagues might want to see these too." I started handing out photos to the people around us. Sarah and Eliot having lunch, Sarah and Eliot in his car, Sarah and Eliot kissing in the hotel parking lot. "These are from Sarah's recent business development activities," I announced loudly enough for nearby groups to hear. "She's been working very closely with Eliot Patterson to develop new client relationships." The crowd around us was growing as people realized something dramatic was happening. Several people were already pulling out their phones to record the scene. Sarah was crying now, trying to grab the photos from people's hands. "Stop it, Jack, please!" Eliot had noticed the commotion and was pushing through the crowd toward us. When he reached us, his face was flushed with anger. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "I'm sharing some interesting photos with Sarah's colleagues," I said calmly. "Would you like to see them, Eliot? I have some particularly nice ones of you two at the Fairmont Olympic." Eliot grabbed for the remaining photos in my hands. I let him have them, but not before several more people had gotten a good look at the contents. "You're sick," Eliot said. "This is harassment." "No, this is transparency. Sarah and I are getting divorced, and I thought her co-workers should know why." "Security!" Eliot shouted. "I want this man removed." But before security could arrive, Eliot made a mistake. He shoved me, hard enough to send me stumbling backward. I didn't stumble far, and when I regained my balance, I hit him. It wasn't a particularly hard punch. I'm a software architect, not a boxer, but it caught him square on the nose and sent him sprawling backward into a cocktail table. The table collapsed under his weight, sending drinks and appetizers flying everywhere. The crowd erupted in gasps and excited chatter. Cell phone cameras were recording from every angle. Eliot was on the floor, bleeding from his nose, covered in spinach dip, and looking like the fool he was. "That's for my marriage," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Security arrived then, but the damage was already done. Half the party had witnessed the confrontation, and the other half were getting caught up on the details by people who had. By the time I was escorted out of the hotel, the story was already spreading through Seattle's professional community like wildfire. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and adrenaline crash, when my phone rang. It was Jennifer. "I saw the video," she said. "Someone already posted it on Instagram. Eliot looks ridiculous." "How do you feel about that?" "I feel like justice is being served. But Jack, you need to be careful. They're going to come after you hard now." She was right. I'd escalated the situation beyond the point of no return. Sarah and Eliot would be looking for revenge, and they had resources I didn't. But I'd also achieved something important. Everyone in their professional circle now knew the truth about their affair. The carefully crafted image they'd both worked so hard to maintain was destroyed. Whatever happened next, they'd be dealing with the consequences of their actions for years to come. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You're going to pay for this, both of you." I showed the text to Jennifer when she arrived in the parking lot a few minutes later. "Eliot?" she asked. "Probably, or Sarah. Does it matter?" "What do we do now?" "Now we prepare for war, because they're not going to give up, and neither am I." As we sat in the hotel parking lot, watching the party continue without us, I realized that I'd crossed a line tonight. There was no going back to the quiet, methodical revenge I'd been planning. This was open warfare now, and the only way out was through. But for the first time in months, I felt like I was winning. Chapter 5. The dominoes fall. Action, humiliation, and the twist. The video went viral overnight. By Saturday morning, "Cheating Wife Exposed at Company Party" had been shared across every social media platform, generating hundreds of thousands of views and thousands of comments. Most of the comments were supportive of me, calling Sarah and Eliot disgusting cheaters and praising me for standing up for yourself. But some were critical, calling my actions unhinged and abusive. A few even suggested that Sarah was better off without me. I was reading through the comments over coffee when my phone rang. It was my mother. "Jack, I just saw the video. Are you insane?" "Good morning to you too, Mom. Don't get smart with me. You punched that man at a public event. You could be arrested." "He pushed me first. I was defending myself." "In front of 100 people with cameras. Jack, this is going to follow you for the rest of your life." "Good. Maybe it'll follow Sarah and Eliot too." There was a pause. "I raised you better than this. You raised me to stand up for myself and not let people walk all over me. That's exactly what I'm doing. There's a difference between standing up for yourself and making a public spectacle." "Mom, Sarah spent months planning to destroy my life while pretending to be my loving wife. She deserved to be exposed." Another pause. "Well, when you put it that way, I suppose she had it coming. But next time, maybe don't punch anyone on camera." After hanging up with Mom, I checked my email and found messages from 3 different reporters wanting to interview me about the viral divorce confrontation. I deleted them all, but the media attention was just beginning. By noon, the story had been picked up by local news stations, and by evening it was trending on Twitter under the hashtag "Cheating Wife Exposed." Sarah and Eliot were getting destroyed in the court of public opinion, but they weren't taking it lying down. On Sunday morning, I found a process server at my door with a restraining order. Sarah was claiming that I was stalking and harassing her, that I'd threatened her at the party, and that she feared for her safety. The order prohibited me from contacting Sarah directly, from coming within 500 feet of her workplace or residence, and from posting about her on social media. I called Patricia immediately. "This is standard divorce warfare," she told me. "They're trying to control the narrative and make you look like the aggressor." We'll fight it in court, but in the meantime, you need to be very careful about any contact with Sarah. What about the evidence I've been gathering? That's still legal, as long as you're not violating the restraining order. But Jack, you need to tone down the public confrontations. The viral video was entertaining, but it could hurt your case if it makes you look unstable. Monday brought more bad news. I got a call from my boss at the tech company where I work remotely. Jack, we need to talk. HR has been getting calls about the video from Friday night. Some clients are concerned about our company's image being associated with the incident. It was a personal matter, Tom. It has nothing to do with my work. I know that, and you know that, but perception matters in this business. I need you to take a leave of absence until this blows over. How long? A month, maybe 2. With pay, of course, just until the media attention dies down. So now I was unemployed, at least temporarily, but that gave me more time to focus on my war with Sarah and Eliot. Tuesday brought the first real counterattack. I woke up to find that someone had spray-painted "abuser" across my garage door in red letters. The security cameras had captured the vandalism, but the perpetrator was wearing a hoodie and mask, making identification impossible. I called the police to file a report, but the responding officer was less than helpful. "Looks like someone's not happy with you," Officer Martinez said as he took photos of the graffiti. "You're the guy from the viral video, right?" "That's me." "Well, you've made some enemies. Any idea who might have done this?" "I have some suspects, but no proof. Without proof, there's not much we can do. You might want to consider installing better security." After the officer left, I spent the morning cleaning paint off my garage door and reviewing security footage. The vandal had been careful to avoid showing their face, but their body language looked familiar. I called Jennifer to see if she'd experienced any retaliation. "Oh, I've gotten plenty," she said. "Someone keyed my car yesterday, and I've been getting nasty text messages from unknown numbers. But I also got something interesting." "What?" "A call from Linda Walsh at Pinnacle Solutions. Apparently, the HR investigation into Sarah and Eliot's relationship has uncovered some financial irregularities. They've been using company resources for personal expenses related to their affair." "What kind of expenses?" "Hotel rooms charged to corporate accounts, personal meals expensed as client entertainment, even a weekend trip to Portland that was supposedly a business conference but was actually just the two of them at a resort." This was better than I'd hoped. Not only were Sarah and Eliot facing personal consequences for their affair, but they could also face professional discipline or even termination for misusing company funds. "There's more," Jennifer continued. "Linda let slip that they're both being investigated for creating a hostile work environment. Apparently their affair was affecting other employees, and there have been complaints." "What kind of complaints?" "Favoritism, inappropriate behavior in the office, making other employees uncomfortable with their obvious relationship. Linda said there's even a complaint from someone who witnessed them having sex in Eliot's office after hours." I felt a surge of vindictive satisfaction. Sarah and Eliot's carefully planned affair was turning into a complete disaster, but the best news came Wednesday morning when Jennifer called with information that changed everything. "Jack, you need to hear this. I was going through Eliot's computer files last night. He gave me the password during our separation discussion, and I found something incredible." "What?" "Email exchanges between Eliot and his divorce attorney going back 4 months. They weren't just planning to leave us, Jack. They were planning to frame us." "Frame us for what?" "Domestic abuse. Eliot's lawyer suggested that if I accused him of domestic violence, it would hurt his case and his reputation. So they came up with a plan to make it look like you were abusing Sarah and I was abusing Eliot." I felt my blood run cold. What kind of plan? Staged injuries, fake police reports, manufactured evidence. Sarah was supposed to document abuse by taking photos of bruises she gave herself, and Eliot was going to do the same. Then they were going to file restraining orders and use the fake abuse claims to get favorable divorce settlements. "Do you have proof of this?" "I have everything. emails, strategy documents, even photos they took of fake injuries, before deciding the bruises weren't convincing enough. This was it. This was the evidence that would destroy them completely. Not only had they been cheating, but they'd been planning to falsely accuse us of domestic violence to improve their divorce outcomes. Jennifer, this is huge. This could get them arrested for filing false police reports, perjury, maybe even extortion. I know. What do you want to do with it? I want to make sure everyone knows the truth, but we need to be smart about how we release this information. We spent the rest of the day planning our next move. The fake abuse scheme was so outrageous, so calculated and cruel, that it would completely destroy any remaining sympathy Sarah and Eliot might have had from mutual friends or colleagues. But I wanted to do more than just release the information. I wanted to confront them with it directly, to see their faces when they realized their entire conspiracy had been exposed. Thursday evening, I put the plan into action. I sent both Sarah and Eliot identical text messages from a new phone number. I know about the fake abuse plan. Meet me at Pike Place Market tomorrow at noon if you want to discuss this privately. Otherwise, I go to the police and the media. Sarah responded within minutes. I don't know what you're talking about. Eliot took longer, but eventually replied, You're bluffing. I sent them both the same response. Noon tomorrow. Don't make me wait. Friday morning, I arrived at Pike Place Market early and positioned myself near the fish-throwing vendors, where the crowd would provide both witnesses and cover. Jennifer was stationed across the market with a clear view and a high-definition camera. Sarah arrived first, looking haggard and nervous. The viral video and subsequent media attention had clearly taken a toll on her. Her usually perfect appearance was disheveled, and she kept looking around anxiously as if expecting to be recognized. Eliot showed up 10 minutes later, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap in a futile attempt at disguise. His nose was still slightly swollen from our encounter at the party. I waited until they were both standing near me before I approached. Thank you both for coming, I said. I wasn't sure you'd have the courage to show up. What do you want, Jack? Sarah asked. Her voice was shaky, uncertain. I want to give you both a chance to explain why you thought it would be a good idea to frame Jennifer and me for domestic abuse. The color drained from both their faces. I don't know what, Eliot started to say. Cut the shit, Eliot. I have the emails. I have the strategy documents. I have the photos of your fake injuries. I know everything. Sarah started crying. Jack, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You weren't content with just cheating and lying. You wanted to destroy our reputations and possibly send us to jail to cover up your own crimes. It wasn't my idea, Sarah sobbed. Eliot's lawyer suggested it. I never would have gone through with it. Really? Because I have an email where you're discussing which makeup to use to create realistic-looking bruises. Eliot grabbed Sarah's arm. We're leaving. No, you're not. I pulled out my phone and showed them a photo of the email exchange about the fake abuse plan. Because if you leave now, I'm sending this to every news outlet in Seattle, along with all the other evidence I have about your conspiracy. What do you want? Eliot asked. I want you both to admit what you've done. Out loud, on camera, so there's no question about who the real villains are in this story. We're not admitting anything, Eliot said. Then I guess we'll let the police and the media sort it out. I started to dial a number on my phone. Sarah grabbed my arm. Wait, what if we admit it? What happens then? Then maybe I don't press charges for conspiracy to commit perjury and filing false police reports. Maybe I just let the court of public opinion handle your punishment. Sarah looked at Eliot, who shook his head violently. But Sarah was breaking down, the stress and guilt finally overwhelming her carefully constructed defenses. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm so sorry. We never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far. You were willing to destroy innocent people to cover up your affair. I know it was wrong, but I was scared. And Eliot said it was the only way to protect ourselves. Eliot looked furious. Sarah, shut up. Don't say another word. But Sarah was past caring about Eliot's advice. I loved you, Jack. I really did. But I fell in love with someone else. And instead of handling it honestly, I let it turn into this nightmare. You didn't just fall in love with someone else, Sarah. You planned an elaborate scheme to destroy my life and frame me for crimes I didn't commit. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I looked at both of them, these two people who had been willing to destroy Jennifer and me to protect themselves, and felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're both going to withdraw any claims of abuse or harassment against Jennifer and me. You're going to agree to fair divorce settlements without any more legal games, and you're going to stay out of our lives permanently. And if we do that, Eliot asked, then I won't press criminal charges for the fake abuse conspiracy, but the affair evidence is already public, and I'm not putting that genie back in the bottle. Sarah nodded eagerly. Yes, we'll do that. Eliot looked like he wanted to argue, but he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Fine. Good. Now get out of my sight before I change my mind about those criminal charges. As they walked away, Sarah turned back once and mouthed, I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Jennifer appeared at my side as soon as they were gone. Did you get it all on camera? I asked. Every word. Sarah's confession, Eliot's implicit admission, everything. Good. Now let's go home. This war is finally over. I was wrong about the war being over. Sarah and Eliot's agreement to my terms lasted exactly 3 days. On Monday morning, I woke up to find my smart home system had been hacked. All the lights were flashing, the security alarms were blaring, and my automated systems were going haywire. Someone had gained access to my network and was systematically trying to destroy the digital evidence I'd been collecting. But I'd anticipated this possibility. All my important files were backed up to secure cloud servers that weren't connected to my home network. The hackers were destroying copies while the originals remained safe. Still, the message was clear. Sarah and Eliot weren't going down without a fight. I called Jennifer to warn her, but she was already dealing with her own crisis. They got to my computer too, she said. But that's not the worst part. Eliot filed a police report claiming I stole confidential documents from his computer without permission. They're trying to get me arrested for computer theft. That's ridiculous. You had his password. You were separated but still married. You had every right to access those files. Try explaining that to the detective who showed up at my door this morning with a search warrant. This was escalating beyond anything I'd planned for. Sarah and Eliot were clearly desperate, and desperate people do dangerous things, but they'd made a crucial mistake. By hacking my smart home system, they'd trespassed on my property electronically, leaving digital fingerprints that could be traced back to them. I called Nate. I need your help. Sarah and Eliot are trying to destroy evidence and frame Jennifer for computer crimes. What do you need me to do? I need you to help me catch them in the act. They're going to try something bigger, and when they do, I want it all documented. That afternoon, I got my chance. My home security system detected someone trying to break into my garage. The cameras showed a figure in dark clothing attempting to pick the lock on the side door. I called 911, then called Nate, then activated the smart home's lockdown protocol. All the doors and windows sealed automatically, the security cameras switched to high-definition recording mode, and the backup power systems activated to ensure nothing could be shut down remotely. The intruder was trapped in my garage. When the police arrived, they found Eliot Patterson crouched behind my car, holding a laptop bag full of electronic devices designed to hack into computer systems and delete files. He was trying to destroy evidence in my divorce case, I told the responding officers. I have security footage of the break-in and documentation of the cyber attacks on my home network. Eliot was arrested for breaking and entering, attempted burglary, and computer crimes. The laptop bag contained enough hacking equipment to add several more charges. But the story didn't end there. While Eliot was being processed at the police station, Sarah made her own desperate move. She showed up at my house with her own key — I'd never gotten around to changing the locks — and tried to delete files from my home computer system. What she didn't know was that I'd been expecting this. My computer was running a monitoring program that recorded every keystroke and mouse click. When Sarah tried to delete my evidence files, she was actually creating a perfect record of her attempt to destroy evidence in a legal proceeding. Even better, she was doing it all on camera. My security system was recording her every move in high definition. I watched it all happen from my phone while sitting in a coffee shop across town. Sarah frantically clicking through files, trying to delete photos and documents, growing more panicked as she realized the files were backed up to secure servers she couldn't access. When she finally gave up and tried to leave, she discovered that I'd remotely activated the smart lock system. She was trapped inside my house, just like Eliot had been trapped in the garage. I called the police again. "This is Jack Morrison. I have an intruder in my home attempting to destroy evidence in a legal case. She's trapped inside, and I have video footage of everything she's done." The second police response was even more dramatic than the first. By the time the officers arrived, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered to watch the show. Sarah's attempts to escape through the locked smart home had triggered multiple security alarms, creating a spectacle that could be heard 3 blocks away. When the police finally unlocked the house and arrested Sarah, she was hysterical, screaming about how I'd set her up and trapped her illegally. "He lured me here!" she shouted as they put her in handcuffs. "This is entrapment!" "Ma'am, you broke into his house and attempted to destroy evidence," one of the officers replied. "That's not entrapment, that's stupidity." The crowd of neighbors was recording everything on their phones. Within hours, videos of Sarah's arrest were spreading across social media, adding another chapter to the viral story of our divorce. But the real finale came the next day, when all the evidence was laid out in court. Patricia had filed for an emergency hearing to address the break-ins, the hacking attempts, and the evidence destruction. The judge, the Honorable Margaret Chen, was not amused by what she heard. "Let me see if I understand this correctly," Judge Chen said, looking over her glasses at Sarah and Eliot's lawyers. "Your clients not only committed adultery and planned to defraud their spouses in divorce proceedings, but they also conspired to file false domestic abuse claims, hacked into computer systems, committed breaking and entering, and attempted to destroy evidence in legal proceedings." Sarah's lawyer, David Brennan, looked like he wanted to disappear. "Your Honor, my client was emotionally distraught and not thinking clearly." "Mr. Brennan, your client committed multiple felonies while attempting to cover up her initial misconduct. Emotional distress is not a legal defense for criminal behavior." Judge Chen turned to me. "Mr. Morrison, I've reviewed all the evidence you've provided, including the security footage of both break-ins and the documented cyber attacks on your systems. I'm prepared to rule on your divorce petition immediately." "Thank you, Your Honor. Based on the evidence of adultery, fraud, conspiracy, and criminal misconduct by Mrs. Morrison, I'm awarding you 90% of all marital assets, full ownership of the marital home, and sole responsibility for all marital debts. Mrs. Morrison will receive 10% of liquid assets only, with no claim to real estate, retirement accounts, or other investments." Sarah gasped. Her lawyer started to object, but Judge Chen cut him off. "Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for prosecution of the criminal charges arising from the break-ins and evidence tampering. Both Mrs. Morrison and Mr. Patterson will remain in custody pending arraignment on those charges." I looked over at Sarah, who was crying silently at the defendant's table. For a moment, I felt the same pity I'd experienced at Pike Place Market. Then I remembered the exit strategy document, the fake abuse plan, and the months of lies and betrayal. The pity passed. Judge Chen banged her gavel. "This court is adjourned." As the bailiffs led Sarah and Eliot away in handcuffs, I walked out of the courthouse into the Seattle sunshine. A crowd of reporters was waiting on the steps, shouting questions about the viral divorce case and the cheating wife conspiracy. I ignored them all and walked to my car, where Jennifer was waiting. "How do you feel?" she asked. "I feel like justice has been served." "What happens now?" "Now I rebuild my life. Sarah and Eliot will spend the next few years dealing with criminal charges, civil lawsuits, and the complete destruction of their reputations. Their careers are over, their social lives are ruined, and everyone they know understands exactly what kind of people they really are." "And us?" I looked at Jennifer, this woman who'd been betrayed just as badly as I had, who'd fought just as hard for justice, who'd stood by me through the entire war. "I think we'll be just fine." As we drove away from the courthouse, I reflected on everything that had happened. 6 months ago, I'd been a trusting husband who believed his wife's lies about working late and girls' nights out. I'd been passive, reactive, always trying to fix problems instead of confronting them directly. But Sarah's betrayal had changed me. It had forced me to become someone harder, more calculating, more willing to fight for what I deserved. I'd learned that sometimes the only way to deal with people who want to destroy you is to destroy them first. The viral videos, the public humiliation, the criminal charges, the financial ruin, it was all exactly what Sarah and Eliot deserved for their conspiracy against Jennifer and me. They'd planned to frame us for domestic violence, to steal our assets, and to leave us with nothing while they rode off into the sunset together. Instead, they were facing years in prison and complete social destruction. My phone buzzed with a text from my boss. "Jack, the media attention has died down. Ready to come back to work?" I typed back, "Ready when you are." Another text, this one from my mother. "I saw the news about the arrests. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. But next time, maybe just hire a better lawyer from the beginning." I laughed and typed back, "I'll keep that in mind, Mom." As Jennifer and I drove through downtown Seattle, past the hotel where I'd confronted Sarah and Eliot at the company party, past the courthouse where justice had finally been served, I realized that this whole experience had taught me something important about myself. I wasn't the passive, understanding victim that Sarah had thought she was manipulating. When pushed too far, when betrayed too deeply, I was capable of fighting back with a ruthlessness that surprised even me. Sarah had wanted a divorce, and she'd gotten one. But she'd also gotten something she hadn't bargained for: a complete education in the consequences of underestimating the man she'd married. The war was over, and I had won completely.